Today, welcome back for another Woodchild Wednesday. um, Today I picked one that talks about psychopath because I feel like psychopath is like narcissists. Everybody says that people in their life are a psychopath or narcissist, but it is very, very specific on symptoms that they have to be labeled a psychopath. You could just call somebody a psycho. You could not just call somebody a psychopath because they're weird or you think they're going to kill somebody. That does not make them a psychopath. They have to be, psychopaths don't have any, they don't have a conscience. And I know you like to think that you're a good person because you're just a good person, but it's your conscience. Our conscience is what makes us think about things before we do them. Psychopaths, sociopaths, whatever you want to call them, do not have that. They do not have the thing that tells them don't do that. That's wrong. That is morally wrong. You should not do that. That little their conscience does not exist, so they just do stuff. And to us it seems so depraved and so terrible, but to them it's not a big deal. They don't care. Because, they just don't. And sometimes that can be hard for us to accept. So I want to see if she's really got a psychopath in her life or if she's just using the term. Because a lot of us use the terms wrong. The title is genuinely. I think this was supposed to be genuinely. But she said, I genuinely think my 35-year-old female. So his wife. No, she is a 35-year-old female. And her husband, who's a 36-year-old male, she thinks he is a psychopath. It's kind of long, so bear with me. Hi everyone, please, I need help. I'm 35 and my husband is 36. We've been married for 10 years and I have 2 boys, 7 and 5. I honestly don't know what to think anymore. About 3 months ago, my husband started sending me really nasty messages while he was at work. At first, I thought it was just mean comments. Stuff like telling me I'm lazy, I'm a terrible mother, that he regrets marrying me. It was completely out of nowhere. The weird part is that he would come home from work. The weird part is that when he would come home from work, he'd act completely normal. Like nothing happened. He kissed me, asked me what's for dinner, and played with the kids. The first time it happened, I thought maybe he was having a bad day at work, but the messages kept coming. Sometimes he'd send them during the day, sometimes late at night if he was working overtime. They got worse too, saying things like I'm useless, that I'm lucky he hasn't left me yet, that no one else will want me. The first few times I confronted him, he acted confused, like genuinely confused. He would say things like, what message is, or you must be misunderstanding something. This sounds more like gaslighting. That's what it sounds like. Gaslighting is when somebody, is doing all this stuff and tries to make you think you're crazy. He was sending these messages and then acting like he didn't know what was happening. That's more like gaslighting than he's a psychopath. I mean, I can see why you feel that way because it is mean, but it's more gaslighting than psychopath, I would say. I literally showed him the text on my phone and he just stared at them and said he didn't send them, claiming he lost his phone. Which he did, but he had a new one and was still texting and calling from that number. I know it sounds ridiculous, but he didn't look guilty. He looked confused, almost scared. I thought maybe he was gaslighting me. But it was such a weird way to do it because he never got angry in person. People do not get angry. When they gaslight you, they do not get angry. They want you to think you're crazy. So if I respond crazily, then you're going to know I know what I'm doing. But if I respond and I confused, then you're going to think that you're crazy. Because that's what you think. You think there's something wrong with you that you must have misunderstood, which is what he wants. So of course he isn't going to act like he is upset about it because he's not. I thought Finally, about a month ago, I snapped. I showed him a bunch of the messages at once and told him I couldn't keep living like this. I told him if he hated me so much, he'd just say it to my face. He kept insisting he didn't send them and said that maybe someone was messing with us. At that point, I was done. I packed clothes, grabbed the kids, and went to stay with my parents who lived in the same state. They were amazing and helped me so much. And I never felt luckier to have a close family. Since then, the messages have continued. Same number, same horrible tone. Things like running to mommy's house to spruce my foot. You're pathetic. You'll come crawling back eventually. I sent him screenshots back to the same number. And he still swore again that he wasn't sending them. And that he was just saying that he lost his phone at work and had to get a replacement. But he showed me his phone. I couldn't see the messages. I just thought he was deleting them though. He said someone must have found the phone and was messing with me. Last week I let the kids stay with him for a couple of weeks since he's still their dad and they still miss him. He's still denying everything. Says he never sent those messages and that he thinks someone is using his old phone. Meanwhile, the texts haven't stopped. At this point, I don't even know what to believe anymore. Either he's lying to my face or something really weird is going on. Has anyone ever dealt with something similar? I feel like I'm going insane and I don't know what to believe. She keeps saying genuinely. I think this is supposed to be genuinely. Had the most perfect relationship before all of this and I don't know what to do. I'm scared, but I'm scared. I'm breaking my family apart for no good reason. But some of the texts have been so horrible I can't even include them on here. And then she does update before I read the updates. It sounds like gaslighting. It doesn't sound like he's a psychopath. A psychopath do stuff and they don't care. He's acting like he cares. I think he wanted you to believe that he did not send the messages, which is what he's saying, and they want you to think that you're crazy. That is more gaslighting. That is not a true psychopath. A true psychopath does stuff and doesn't care about it. If you've ever watched American Psychopath, he was killing people and going over his day. He didn't care. You know? And a psychopath doesn't. You know, any of the personality disorders are just that. A disordered personality. You're not going to, cure it. They're always going to be that way, so it's hard. What you do is you show them how their behavior will negatively impact them. Because even though they don't care about you, they care about themselves. And so if I can show you how your behavior is going to negatively impact you, then you will be less likely to do it. You know, if I just harp on how it's so bad for the community and all that stuff, they don't care. It doesn't reach them. But if I tell you that what you're doing is going to end you up in jail or something bad is going to happen to you, then you'll stop because you don't want that bad consequence. And it's weird. I don't think have I ever met with a psychopath. I've not. I met with a narcissist. Oh my god, and they're so annoying. My goodness. Because they don't understand. They really do not get it. And you take for granted that you have all these things in place that make you behave the way that you do. And so when you see somebody who doesn't, it can be hard to understand. After the sessions I had with him, every time I was like ready to blow my brains out. It was so horrible. He just did not understand. He really did not. But in all the years that I've been doing counseling, I met one narcissist. I know people throw that term around, but for you to truly be a narcissist, you have to meet certain criteria. You cannot just say somebody's a narcissist because you feel like they just care about themselves. What evidence do you have to back that up? What have they done? You cannot just call them a narcissist. That doesn't mean that they're a narcissist. That means that they're selfish, maybe, but not necessarily a narcissist. You have to have very specific criteria to be a narcissist. And everybody is not. Most people are not. It's more rare than I think people think that it is. We think that people just running around just narcissists all the time. They're not, and definitely not psychopaths. Are right. We'd be in trouble. Can you imagine what the world would be like if we just had psychopaths, just a whole bunch of them running around? It would be terrible. And not all psychopaths are killers, you know. Sometimes they are, but they're not always. Um, Sometimes they do other stuff. It doesn't have to be murdering people, but it also cannot be stuff like this. This sounds more like gaslighting. He wants her to think that she's crazy. She's getting these messages. She thinks they're from him. He tried to convince her that they're not from him. And she's questioning her own sanity. That's what gaslighting does. It makes you question your own sanity. And so it sounds more like gaslighting to me. I would not say he is a psychopath. I would say he is a gaslighter for sure. Let's see what her update says. I did a lot more research and comments helped me investigate. I think how the messages are happening from multiple devices. I think I know how the messages are happening from multiple devices. Because we message using WhatsApp. After doing some research, it does allow for multiple devices to be connected to the same account. So it is possible that someone else could be doing it from his lost phone. But overnight, the messages didn't slow down. They actually got worse. They weren't just insults anymore. Some of them started to feel like threats. I was terrified. Things about how, like, I would regret leaving. And some things a lot worse. I barely slept last night because of it. If it was somebody else, how would they know what was going on? How would they know that you left to say, running to mommy's house like a baby? How would they know that? You know, these are very specific things about what's going on in your world. How would somebody on WhatsApp know what's going on? How would they know that you left your husband? How would they know? I mean, I guess from whatever you would say back to him, but you also had phone conversations with him, so how are the messages updating based on that? That's what makes me think that he's gaslighting you. You're trying to come up with all these reasons that it could be, maybe there's somebody else. It's not. It's probably him. You know, he's probably gaslighting you. Sadly enough. At one point last night, I finally texted back and said that if the messages didn't stop, I was going to the police. I know a lot of people said not to do this, but I couldn't take it anymore, and I knew that whether it was my husband or not, the person doing this would at least see it. I know it made a lot of people angry, that I couldn't just make up my mind on what to do. But here's a reminder that this is my husband, the man I loved unconditionally for over 10 years. Dumping him and blocking him out of nowhere isn't an option. We built a family and a life together. My life isn't a movie. I could just cut the last 10 years out. Like many of you insinuated, as well as calling me a liar, attention seeker, and pointing out every mistake I made. I know I posted online for help, and I need to accept some hate, but I fear sometimes people on Reddit could just go too far. And I saw it over the last day. Please think of the harm you cause when you leave a comment. This isn't just social media. It is my current real life, and I know many of you that wrote these probably wouldn't say it to my face. Now the messages didn't stop. If anything, they got more aggressive. At that point, I was convinced it had to be him, and I decided to be true to my word and actually went to the police station. I saw some comments about being able to track a device to a small location, and you can ask for that. If you have the information about the phone, which I got from my husband, and on the phone plan, which I am. The worst thing about this is me contacting him about the kids and the information also went to whoever was sending the horrible messages. I was terrified about putting them in more danger, and I was making who was doing this more angry. So I knew it was urgent to get help. At the police station, they were able to track the missing phone. I claimed it was just lost because at the time I didn't know I was going to file charges because it was my husband's phone They actually gave me the location, and the officer who helped me was very nice. The address was very familiar and quite close to our house, so I decided to drive past and see where I knew it from. Turns out I had been to one of my husband's workplace parties there, and the co-worker lives there that I'm actually quite close to. I was angry and honestly just exhausted from it all. The kids were with him, so I went over early to pick them up before he expected me. My mom came with me because I didn't want to go alone. She took the boys so I could talk to him privately. I told him I knew one of his co-workers had his old phone, and how I was disgusted that she was ever someone I considered to be a friend. By this point, I was absolutely breaking down. When I told him this, he looked shocked. So I asked, why was his phone in her house? And how did she know your password? He just said, maybe she took it from work, and I don't know how she knew. But after reading some of the comments, I was done playing down excuses. That answer didn't sit right with me at all. Something about the whole situation felt off. The messages had been too personal. Whoever was sending them knew things that only someone very close to us would have known. So I pushed harder. It turns out the co-worker wasn't just a co-worker. She had been having an affair with my husband for over a year. He tried to claim it wasn't serious, but I was sick of him making me feel like I was overreacting. I know people said this was a possibility, but I could just never bring myself to believe it. I never felt so betrayed. Everything made sense. She knew details about our relationship, our house, our routines, the kids, things that would be impossible for a stranger to know, all because my husband was telling her everything. I don't know exactly how she ended up with his old phone. He claims he lost it at work and thinks she took it. I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. All I know is that the messages kept coming from that device, and they just kept getting worse. Who knows how far she would have gone. Apparently when my husband lost his phone, whoever had it kept using it. Meanwhile, he had gotten a replacement phone, but the old phone was still logged into WhatsApp. So technically, both phones were tied to the same account. And I didn't even realize WhatsApp wasn't the same messages, and things like this can happen. Which meant the messages could be sent from the old device and still appear as if they were coming from him, while they wouldn't appear on his phone. Part of me thinks there's no way he didn't realize. The messages were constant. It's hard for me to believe he was completely unaware of what she was doing. Maybe I'm wrong, but my trust in him is completely gone. At this point, I've decided to start the process of filing for divorce. Good for you. This isn't the man I thought I married, and after everything that's happened, I don't even feel safe around him anymore. For now, I'm staying with my parents and the kids. I don't trust him around them right now. And he seemed accepting over this because of the affair, and he still has to work. The fact that someone who smiled in my face, sat in our home and acted like my friend, was secretly involved with my husband for over a year, and then spent time tormenting me, pretending to be him, is honestly one of the most disturbing things I've ever experienced, and I still can't wrap my mind around it. I still have this horrible feeling that there's more to the story than either of them are admitting. All I know is that I've lost trust for him, and no amount of counseling could change that. We are done. Thank you all so much for the help. I'm genuinely scared that I would have been done if I didn't reach out, because I never expected this from him. I don't know if there will be another update. I have a lot of recovering to do. I feel like I just lost over 10 years of my life to a lie of a man, and I just need to get used to the idea of starting fresh. I'm so grateful that to have my family, and knowing that they will be here to support me and the boys through this is the only thing that brings me comfort. There's obviously still a lot more to sort out, but I'm safe now. I just want to put the safety of me and my boys first. This will be my final update. Thank you all so much. Yeah, he is definitely a gaslighter. I don't know if I would say he was a psychopath, but definitely, he knew he probably could figure this out if he did not know if she was the one saying them. He knows he's been having a affair for a year. Instead of being honest and telling you that, he let you just think you're crazy and was telling you, I didn't send those messages, I don't know where they came from. And got you doing all this stuff trying to figure out what was going on. That is gaslighting, man. That is not a psychopath, you know. Stop using these words. We just use the words, even if whatever it is doesn't quite fit it, you know. And I get it, you know. I understand, but he is definitely a world class gaslighter. I would not say he was a psychopath, though. Um. What about, let's see, updates. I went to my last doctor's appointment last week, and my next one is not till September. So I have a head shaking clinic thing next month, but I don't shake my head, so I don't know what good that's going to do. I did ask him about if my voice was going to change because I do not like how I sound, and he said if it was going to change, it would have changed by now because we're coming up to a year. It would have already changed if it was going to change. So I guess that means that I'm kind of stuck with this, you know. Unfortunately, not what I want, but it is what it is, I suppose. I don't understand. I don't know, but so I'm just kind of doing what I need to do, you know. And what did he say? Anything else? No, the biggest thing that I was worried about was my voice because, I mean, in the big scheme of things that could have been left over that's wrong, it's pretty small. I could get used to the voice. I could not get used to not walking or not being able to drive myself to places or, you know, being the things that make me independent. I can get used to the voice. I will get used to the voice. It may take a little bit of time. I don't like it also because right now I feel like Stewie from Family Guy. You know how Stewie has an accent that none of his rest of his family has? I feel like that. Nobody sounds like me. I feel like I sound like I'm from somewhere else and I do not like it. If I was from there, that would be one thing, but I'm from Alabama. I should sound like I'm from Alabama, you know. I don't know what I can do about that, and I've already taken speech therapy and all that stuff, and so I think it's just going to be one of those things that I have to get used to. It just isn't going to change, and that's okay, you know. Or it will be okay. It's not okay right now, but my goal is for it to be okay for me to just accept it and move on, you know. What you gonna do? Not much you can do about it. So this was this week's Woo Child Wednesday. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next week, same time, same. You know, we'll be doing the Woo Child Wednesday. I will try to be as consistent as I can be now, because honestly, the stroke stuff is pretty much over. Except for the voice. The voice is going to be a lasting thing. I don't know that I can change that. But as far as all the other stuff, even the driving, I don't even get as much anxiety as I used to get. I'm a lot more relaxed when I drive now. And I think it's just one of those things that takes time, you know. You just got to be on the road and get back comfortable, you know, because I did not drive. I haven't driven since May. So I haven't driven in a while, you know. And so being on the road, it makes sense that I would get a little anxious. Hopefully that will be better. But yeah, I will see you all next week. Hope you have a good rest of your week. And bye-bye.